Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you can hear me. Trying to see who can get in here. I have not used StreamYard like this to try and get over to YouTube, so bear with me for my lack of knowledge with these services. But I think it seems to be working just fine from what I can tell. Although I'm not going to be able to see the chat there. I don't know how I could do it. I guess I could just do it from StreamYard. It'd be nice to figure out how to see other people. Hey, Jetix, I did see your question. I wasn't sure if that was from the last time or from this time. I'm glad you sent that because I did remove it, but no, I think you have to use your own discernment with it, because there's little, you know, cookie crumbles or breadcrumbs or pieces of truth in all this stuff. It just take what hits you right and feels right, and then go with it, and don't really look back on it, because there is like a distrust that like lingers with different people and their content, as far as like, well, do I believe this person or do I follow this person? Like, there's other channels that attack other channels. It's like so convoluted, and I would just take with what sits right with you. And sometimes it's like you follow a channel for a little bit, and then eventually you get all that you can out of it, and then you move on. That's also part of that too. Everybody does have their own assholes. Yep. Yep. Jetix, where are you from? Where are you from? Where's a way I can see who else is in this thing? Maybe not. Oh, it said okay. So I see that I have 5 people watching. That's cool. Um, hopefully Carrie gets on with me as well. Norway. Okay. Yeah, I mean, for there to be any information, it has to be based around some sort of truth, maybe twisted, inverted, copied, whatever. It has to have some basis in some kind of truth, and that gets into our intentional discernment of those things. And then once we start breaking it apart or breaking it down, or reviewing it, or cross-referencing it, or finding others that talk about the same kind of thing, or content videos, books, whatever, it starts to break it down, and then you're left with only the truth from it, rather than the whole perspective that one might be pushing this way or that way. Okay, so how do I move people from backstage? Let me see here. Give me a second. I'm going to try and find it. What was your strange truth that you found? Guests. Add to stage. Well, cool. That worked. Hey, DW. Savitha. Let's see here. Yeah, Jetix, what's this strange truth that you found, bud?
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Just another day in this place, trying to keep that balance. That's that's the big struggle I'm finding lately, is maintaining that. I don't want to call it neutrality, but it's basically what it is. Just kind of like not getting suckered into one way or another, and knowing that there's a bigger plan. Because we all want to get home. We all want to get out of here, or end it, or whatever, collapse it, all the things. But it's like, well, there's something else happening that keeps us here for whatever reason. Be it some of us are holding space for like our higher selves or our other part of ourselves that is doing work in the background that we don't really know about. I think that's all kind of all of the above at this point.
Brandon, I don't know, it's for me or your voice is very low.
Or is it very low? I got it on my bed or whatever. Is that better? Can you hear me better now?
It's the same actually. I
Oh,
don't know
is
if
it?
it's from my side the problem or what.
I don't know. I don't know how I would increase my volume output.
How is my
You sound great from what I can
okay?
tell. Yeah, you sound good. Yeah, Jedix says layers toward our origin, meaning how many layers I think there are before we reach our origin place, meaning place we come from or should be in. Hey, Jake. Okay, hears me good. Hey, Dan. Okay, cool. Thanks for the feedback on the voice there, guys. Um, layers as in planes of existence, like bubbles within bubbles sort of thing. Is that what you mean, Jetix? As far as layers towards our origin? Or are you talking like layers of an onion of knowledge base within this place? Because I do think it's partially like the first, like in the awakening journey, you're going to go through the knowledge base of onion. Like you're going to go through all these freaking layers and rabbit holes, but you get to a point where you have you realize like there's multiple planes, and to me this is just my thinking. I'm seeing that there's 12 planes. There's the 7 heavens above and the 5 below, and it's literally like bubbles within bubbles. Or if you can picture that little thing from Inception, the little topper that he spins, Leonardo DiCaprio spins, it looks like that. So I mean I can draw it out, but that's how I see it. And I think once this thing collapses, it'll be like we shoot through all the layers, like shedding and shedding and shedding these false layers of ourselves, these meat suits or whatever you want to call it. I think that there's 3 major uh, layers, we'll call it. So the first one would be like you're talking the origin point. That would be something that people would call the true, that is the real home, infinity. Not infinity. That's not a really good word for it, but like boundless. That's probably a really good word for it. The boundless realms, and then you'd have the secondary matrix, which would be the 7 heavens, if you will, like the upper part of this place, and then you have the third matrix, which is the tertiary matrix. Like you can find Mariah Polondakis does a really good video on this, which is where we are, the inverse, the upside down, the underworld, the inversion from a copy, which that copy is made from the true, and that would be your 3 layers of matrices there. So it's like a dream within a dream or a matrix within a matrix. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Good call there, Dan. Octave in music, 7 white keys and 5 black keys per octave. Exactly. Which is why they base it in 12, because 7 plus 5 is 12, and you have 12 months. That's why they worship those 12 months in that framework. Waiting for the kick. Yeah, DW. Me too, brother. I feel like it's I was reading Michelle Walling's write up, and she says a lot of the right stuff, man. She's got some good stuff, and not 100% agreed on it all, but it's like, stop trying to wake people up. Like sit back and work on perseverance, work on yourself, try and help who you can, but don't like go out there knocking on doors telling people to wake up, and just kind of sit back and let the other portion of that person that is you do their job. Like get out of the way, because what's happening, I feel, and she didn't really say this, but what I feel that's happening is when we are seeking like we're putting so much investing in leaving, it's creating an interference pattern which delays it. So if we can kind of like back off on like, what do I do? How do I get out? How do I get out? When? I think that it would lessen that interference pattern, and thus that hand that's reaching for us that we're trying to reach up to get will come quicker. Jedix says, I should get to know how wrong I am, unless I'm not wrong. Man, it's like that. It'd be like that. No doubt. So are you guys seeing this on StreamYard, or are you seeing it on YouTube? I'm just curious. Oh, okay. Well, here's YouTube. Yeah, I guess you're seeing it both. That's kind of cool. Okay. I guess I should be using StreamYard more often. But yeah, if anybody wants to like jump in here and talk things out or go through things just to see what we can uncover, or get to a place where we can like breathe about things rather than like carrying it all, feel free to hop in. Hey, Subtle Realms, really liking your channel. Thanks for being here. Yep, get those chores done. Thanks, Dan. Yep, YouTube. It's interesting how YouTube and StreamYard they work together so synchronistically. No, we're not waiting for any others. It's really just kind of an open dialogue. Whoever wants to jump in can. I see you. Okay, great. Yeah, just anybody can get in, ask questions, comment, and just that's why I kind of named it like living with the truth, because I find it personally in this place where 99.9% of people like don't want to talk about the truth. It gets tough. It's like it's self-isolating to a degree, but it's like I don't want to go around and be fake to everybody. Have the conversations of how's the weather, what are you doing at work, where are you going, what are you looking at. It's like, no, I want to talk about like going home, talking about what's beyond this dualistic matrix. So it's like you're spending a lot of time in your own head, be it when you're at work or just driving, getting groceries, whatever. Hey, Carrie. Locked in the back room. Okay, let me see if now I gotta recall how I just did that. And I got people in here somehow. Invite, no. Yep, just give me a second, Carrie. I know how to do it. There's like a waiting room. There we go. Guests. DW, I'm putting you back in here. Oh, Jonathan's in here too. I'm gonna put the link in the chat as well.
Oh.
So now I got all you guys like on the screen now. It's kind of funny. Yeah, again, forgive my ignorance with the process of StreamYard. I'm still learning it.
You're doing better than me. I've never done it before.
Well, you should see me, Leslie. I'm operating off of an iPad in the Safari or whatever browser. And it's like half my screen's like all cracked because the iPad got put on my car. And I freaking drove off.
No.
It fell off the hood. So it's all beat up. So I'm just trying to do the best I can with what I got.
No. Well, let me say hi. Savitha? Hello? Hello?
Hi, Karen.
I'm Leslie.
Hello,
Hope
Leslie.
you're good. And DW?
Close enough, yeah. Initials.
Well, hello to you. Hope you're good. Jonathan,
As
right?
well as to be expected.
Hello there. Nice to meet you.
Good. Hello. Nice to meet you. Savitha. Savitha. Karaoke. Hi, Gary.
Hello, I don't know if
And
you can
of
hear
course,
me.
Yep, you're coming in loud.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
you're nice and loud.
Very good. Is it too
nice.
loud?
No, you could be a little bit more up if you wanted.
Okay, I've got to rearrange my microphone here. Maybe that will work.
Yeah, that sounds great. Jonathan, good to see you, man. But yeah, no, it's just talking about, how to live with what we're carrying, right? Like like for me, I got a person that's in my space that like wants me to hang out with them all the time and is always offering me like vices and saying we should do this and that, and I can just feel I was telling Carrie yesterday, I was like, I can just feel the lure being set or the baiting that is happening, so that therefore I get locked in, or I consent to getting entangled with there's that one. Okay. Getting entangled with them and going, reverting backwards to things that we don't need to have a part of our space, if that makes sense without me being too detailed. Hey Don, welcome. I just talking to the device, Dan, right now.
Brandon, have you already talked about some of the different things that you've been noticing or that we've talked about that we're noticing are kind
No,
of
I was
going
kind of
on? People getting slammed by different things and dealing with what we're going to be going through, because we're going to go through it.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I was waiting for it to kind of populate a little bit rather than it just be like me. Yeah. So no, go right ahead.
I was just trying to find out how far you'd gotten into it before I could figure out how.
No,
I was trying
you're,
to figure out how to get here.
I'm still basically we're getting ready to get out of the waiting room kind of thing. So no, go right ahead and just jump in. I've just been talking about, kind of maintaining that balance from a day-to-day, hour-to-hour aspect. Like there's so few of us that like want to be in the truth, that when we're surrounded by ones that don't want to even look at it, it's like we spend a lot of time upstairs in our own mind, and kind of bouncing things off of yourself, if that makes sense. And so just how to stay kind of mindful of all that at all times is what I mainly said.
Yeah, being mindful, I think, of who we really are and that we're not part of this paradigm. We're in it. And so we are still working on figuring out the most detached ways of navigating through it without it getting into us. There's a part in the movie Seventh Son where the guy that's going around killing the witches or whatever he's doing. Anyway, he says you can work so long with the darkness before the darkness gets into you. And so there comes a time when it seems like lately, especially, there's been more of those darkness or things, those negative uh, emotions or outbursts, or even other people uh, almost seeming to come up out of the wood work and almost be, assaultive in some sense or another. We can sit there and say, well, it's only the vexed people are doing this. And, when you make an agreement with the vex, that you succumb to these different types of things, and I think that does play a role. But I'm not as concerned about that part of it as in how do we navigate through this and maintain our own interior integrity that is consistent with our isness or our beingness, to where we're not, quote unquote, tainted by those flying arrows of the enemy, or darts, or piercings is actually what it is, of ways that they can get us tied and entangled back into the things that we've worked so hard to detach from. And a lot of that is through the emotional programming that they use. And it's a pretty, I think it's something that we're going to see on the increase, that we're going to start seeing a lot more of. And it's, I don't know if any of the rest of you guys have noticed an uptick in the number of people, who was it, Charles Schwab, or whatever his name is. I think that's the investment company, but the guy that's the head of the World Health Organization,
Klaus
that I
Schwab.
guess about a year ago, yeah, he said that we needed to be ready because we were going to see a lot more angry people. Are any of you guys noticing some changes in the people around you? I know it's the holidays and all, but I'm just curious if anyone else is seeing anything yet.
Not really, not here so much. I think maybe that was just partially a bit of foreshadowing for the riots that burned everything down, and all the people getting pushed in front of subways, and all the people just getting beat down and just shot in the head, and all that random shit that went down for the last 4 years. I don't know. I don't think that stuff's still really going on the same, because there's a new sheriff in town. I mean, as far as like the thugs are concerned, they understand, like whether the president has a whole lot to do with things or not. As far as the Department of Justice is concerned, they understand that they don't get away with the stuff they were doing anymore. So now down here in the South, there's not that big. I mean, there's not a big racial divide of much, at least where I'm at. I don't know about Atlanta. Probably there is there, but here it's just pretty pretty basic and mellow. At least in this area.
It's something I've experienced in the past. Is like when I used to drink quite heavily, and I got so sober that I started to get phone calls from people, old buddies that I didn't hang out with for like 2 or 3 years. Just out of the woodwork, randomly would call and say, "Hey, come on over. I got some whiskey." I'm like, "Man, I haven't heard from you in 3 years. I thought we're like not even friends anymore." So I'd have to decline and things like that. There's one of my old bosses who smokes cigarettes. As I'm trying to like not smoke cigarettes, he says every time I would see him, which was daily, he would first thing he'd like, "Hey, come smoke with me." I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm good. I'm trying to quit." Next day, "Hey, man, come smoke with me." It's like they're trying to get you to they're trying to create, like, I don't know, portals, connections, hooks, whatever, to get you to not focus on what you're trying to focus on, which is purifying and staying balanced. And so you'll see these things happening from Telegram groups, YouTube comments, people in your virtual 3D life. You'll see them at all angles. As far as where I'm at, is as far as seeing anything happen, it's just strange. I would tell you that the number of authority officials, like vehicles and stuff like that, has picked up for sure. From when I first moved here back in like March or February, it's I would say it's almost doubled the amount of vehicles and different vehicles and undercover vehicles that I see on a daily basis, as well as the activity in the night sky, the location of the moon and the sun, the horizon. The activity's getting crazy, and that's not from like me watching TikTok people with their videos of the sky phenomenon. It's like me walking outside and saying, there's a star, and then it just disappears. Or there's 3 little stars. Boom, they just disappeared. Or I see something jet across the night sky that's green. It's like, what? Like, it looks like the stars are lower.
Yeah. Oh, that
you know,
that was.
I think sometimes if I had like a little rifle, I could like pop one out of the sky and bring it down to me. Like, they feel so freaking close. The moon's acting awfully strange. Carrie's gotten a few pictures of different objects around the sun and the moon. So these things are ramping up. And you guys all know by now, you should know that I follow Angelique's work pretty well. On her website, she just posted something about how the increase in the UAPs and all that kind of phenomenon with the orbs and those sorts of things of the like are increasing because it's getting closer to that time where we're going to see, be it a false one, a fake one, a blue beam, or combination. We're going to see those things happen, and that's part of the exit plan. Is those things have to happen in order for us to see our way out, so to speak. And Jonathan, did you see any of the stuff on how important the 12-7 and 12-8 are when it comes to Notre Dame, Trump, the Julian, the Gregorian calendar, and how it ties in with General Patton, also Julius Caesar, and Mother Teresa? Did you see any of that stuff that I posted?
No.
Okay, because that's what's happening right now. Like literally today, between the 7th and the 8th, with them meeting in Notre Dame. The Biden, the Trump, the Prince William, and so Carrie and I were doing a little bit of breakdown on just the name Notre Dame and how it correlated. And so it's the script they're running. It's the program that they have that they do because that's all they can do is replicate. So I don't know if you guys have more knowledge on that. I can post some stuff later, but it's the end of the 7-year tribulation is what it amounts to, and it ties into the Mayan prophecy, because a lot of people think that it's 2024 when in reality it's actually 2012, and that's why they're pushing up the Agenda 2030 to Agenda 2025, and that ties into the Deagle report with the decrease in population that we're supposed to see as well. Anyway, all these concepts, but that's what it was basically saying, was this was the end of the 7-year tribulation.
Where did you post this? Because
I'll send it to you on Telegram.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because
I may not have posted it because sometimes I'll post stuff right before I try and go to sleep, and I'll put the iPad away from me a good like 10 or 12, 20 feet, and I'm getting feedback somewhere, but it doesn't always put it up there. Sometimes it just sits in lag mode or like pending mode. So yeah, I'll send it to you.
Cool. Thank you.
You had mentioned, Brandon, the year, and there's so many different aspects to that, because I know when they changed the Gregorian calendar and they based everything off of this alleged birth of their version of Jesus and making that the year 0 point, but the historical information that surrounds that particular event actually occurred about 6 years earlier than that. And so if we added that 6 years back into our current year of 2024, that would make it that we're already at 2030.
Yes,
so that's another little sideline note to add in there. And that's why they've got so many calendars and have redone them so many times. And I think probably every time they do a reset, they come up with another calendar to keep the people who could watch the stars and get an idea of what's going on based off of the different placements and things like that, because that was set up there to be a timekeeper, basically. And the ones that can start to figure it out, then we haven't had the technology that we know of anyway to be able to do that. But now with the different programs that you can get a good idea of where the stars were placed during certain events that have occurred historically over the millennia, It's a pretty interesting thing to correlate to these different kinds of events that happen. But I thought it was kind of neat that, what if this is 2030? That would tie in this Phoenix event that's being talked about. Of course, I look at Phoenix and I see fee as in FEE, a payment that you pay to Nyx, uh, who is darkness. Basically, it's a fee paid to darkness for the escape. So, they tie everything back into the debtor system and the IOUs and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no,
just another thought.
no, I think that's spot on. It's good because it's like if I looked at this thing as like an onion and I'm in the center of it trying to figure out how to get out of it, I have to like if you cut an onion in half, you see all the rings. It's almost like there's a hole in each ring that I need to line up. So like one level of the onion, oh, it's 2024. At another level, it's 2012. At another level, it's 2030. And it's like we're like lining these holes up. And it's funny you mentioned the Phoenix because while I was at work today, I read an article from Martin over in the UK, and he posted all this stuff like gematrias and the coin that they're using at this ceremony, the burning of Notre Dame, which symbolizes the phoenix and the birth. So yeah, I completely agree that it lines up with all of those things. The birth of the new race, which is going to get into the root races. It's all it's all there. It's a marker.
Oh, it definitely is. And even the word Gregory, the Gregors, actually, the etymology on that is basically the watchers. So it's just another term for that. So we've been under the rule of these runaway watchers, which that gets into another big thing about it. But I know there is, like you said, a lot of movement up in the skies. I'm trying to figure out how to get the picture of what we saw the other day going to town that looked like a big pill in the sky.
Oh yeah, the one that just vanished. It was sitting idle.
Yeah, yeah. And then after I elevated my central index at it
Yeah.
and looked away, it just blipped out. So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go quiet for a second and see if I can figure out how to get that on here.
All right. Sounds good. I'm looking for a way to put that up. I'm not really sure how to. I can do it on Zoom. Maybe I can do that. No. Okay. I'm not gonna mess with that. Too many buttons. But yeah, the sky's gotten crazy. It's a nightly thing, or it's a 24/7 thing now, and it's interesting. Like, not even a month ago. I'm talking like 2 weeks ago. It would be pitch black by like 6:30. But now it's like 5:30 comes. Like it's 5:30 now, and it is so dark, and it's also changed to where it was really bright around 7. Now it's not bright until 8. It's like it's still constantly changing, but it's the speeding up of the time. It's the removal again. So it's getting close. It just feels so imminent. It's wild to me.
Well, the picture of oh heck, now I've lost my train of thought. Trying to think of one thought. Waiting for that whole no. I'll be back. I'll be back.
You're good. I get it. But Jonathan, you say you're on the coast, right? So it's like you probably see a lot of weird stuff there.
Oh, I got it. It's that little Mason video where they're projecting the black sun up and it's projecting off of Polaris, off the dome, and all of that. That focus is getting out because the spinning black sun at the bottom is now wobbling, right? Or it's getting noticeably, well, just with the moon, just with the sun. They have to throw a simulator in front of it because the sun's focus is all over the place. But
Yep.
the moons, definitely. I'm getting figure eights out of them. I'm getting the shadow. Like, remember that picture I posted with the crescent way outside of the actual
Yes.
New moon and that. Yeah, I've been seeing that more than once up here because we're north and we get all of the side. Anything to do with the darkness, it's coming. Like, I mean, at 4 o'clock, it's already dark here.
Exactly.
I guess that's 5 o'clock your time. So yeah.
Yep. Sorry, I'm putting on a hoodie. I'm freezing up on top of this mountain of a house that I'm living in.
Yeah, to answer your question, Brandon, I do see some stuff. I go on walks a lot and I look up, so I think that's partially probably why I see anything. I see a lot of what I guess would be satellites, just dots in the sky that move. You know what I mean? And I'm just looking at them. I don't really ever see the Starlink. I just see, like, a couple times though I saw some lights that were, I mean, clearly some sort of UFO. Just a really bright light that went really fast, perfectly straight across the sky, and it was only visible for about a 12-inch section of the sky. If you held a ruler up, it'd be about that long. But mostly, I just noticed the fact that it seems like all the constellations are so much bigger, and it's supposed to be the other way around. When you get older, everything's supposed to seem smaller. You know what I mean? But like when I remember being a kid, I just remember like Orion and stuff. It just seems like they were smaller up in the sky. And now I look at them, I'm like, damn, dude, I gotta like turn my head to like see the entirety of it. And I just don't remember it being that way. Same for sure with the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is just enormous now.
The one I noticed the most is Cassiopeia. It looks like a W or an M in the sky.
Okay.
And it's just massive. Like, I'm like, that looks like a freaking big ship from like the Marvel movies or something.
Yeah.
But it's so big.
And some of the stars are so bright and so close now. I go out and like, and I'm like, damn, that is just so bright. I don't know, dude. It seems like it's whether it's a change in the atmosphere, or how we're seeing things. I mean, God, I think it's reflected off of at least one glass dome, and possibly a couple. But if it's getting closer like that, then I just am curious what that means. You know what I mean? Like,
it's almost as if the dome is lowering itself, so that when Martin talks about 3 days of darkness, it's the cutting off or the opening up of the dome that we're in, and then it's like a shutdown for a computer, and then 3 days later, the new dome that goes over top of all these other domes creates a bigger dome. I described that horribly. So I think that's kind of what it feels like. It's almost like we're getting smashed down, like the dome's lowering, and then eventually it's going to pop open, and we're going to see all kinds of weird stuff like the plasma and the phoenix and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then a bigger dome is going to be placed over top of, he calls them simulation domes. He says there's 176 of them. Like, to think of them as different dimensions or / realms, each with their own, some bigger, some smaller, so they would have their own time dilations within each one. So some of them would be, they would just act differently from like a top-down perspective. If you looked at them as a clock, they would each be different.
Yeah.
Like, they're on timers. And he posted something about, and he keeps posting things about this, is that's the time in which we exit, is when the lights go out, basically, because the system is down. But that, I see that as from a very physical point. You know how like there's the Aztecs and the Mayans who, like, they had these civilizations of people just disappear. Well, I'm thinking, I told Carrie, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want this body going where I'm going. I want the, like Leslie has in her name. Like, I want my origin. I want to be back home. Like, sentence over.
Well, do you want to know how to get out of here or what?
Well, I mean, I personally know how to get out of here. I'm not really worried about leaving at this point. I know I'm being taken care of from a higher perspective. I'm being guided out of here, literally, mentally, spiritually. So there's like, for me, from my perspective, there's no work that needs to be done other than I know that I'm awake in this space. That means I just call it higher self. We'll call it the Eve or the essence is also awake up there and guiding me out of here. there's nothing for me to do rather than be balanced and ready to leave. And she knows that I am very much ready. So it's right now, it's just perseverance through all of this.
But you're still waiting for something.
We have to, because there's contracts in place and there is a timeline, and that timeline is going to come to an end. It's in the Apocrypha of John, where they talk about Socklus, and he's been given, Socklus is another name for Yaldabaoth. He's been given a certain amount of time to exist in this place, and when that time is up, it'll be as if he never was, as well as any of his creations, be it archons, Enki, Enlil, all the various gods that we've heard about, to all the mythologies. So for me, I just know that I know by the spiritual or the psychic attacks, the dream insertions, the encounters that I have with people, even at work or just buying groceries, I can feel the baiting. Like they want me off balance. They want me questioning my being. And when I don't do that, if I push that back, or I rebuke that back constantly, in and out, so inner monologue, outer dialogue, I'm in a good space. But when I do this or that, and I let them kind of sink in or have a commonality with me, that's when they get worse, because it's like an invite for them. It's like opening the door.
And that's all they need is an open door, because to them that is an invitation to come in, and then that's where the covenant comes back in, and you stand in agreement with whatever those things may be, the entities or whatever they are, that try to connect with us and keep us here and keep us in the recycle program. And that's what we want to get out. DW said it just right. It's detachment is crucial, and it's not a state of idleness, because I call it the enemy. We can call it, everybody can call it whatever they want to, but for me, that's the enemy of my soul tries to keep my soul here. My soul wants to stay here because it was made here. But I'm referring to my spark within me that is not from here, but whose essence is constantly being used to fuel this place. And the whole prophecy that you were just referring to, Brandon, with the Yaldabaoth, Sackless, being given that certain amount of time, a time frame to function within, and at the end of that, it would be as if he never was. And I think that's the moment of our withdrawal. But I think that the time span that we have right now of waiting is to allow the time for anyone else who is going to attain any level of wakefulness and realization or gnosis of the true homelands will be able to detach from here as well, and see that the true homeland is somewhere totally separate from this, that none of this here it even lightly resembles any of it, because it really doesn't. It's patterned on the same thing, but it's not the same thing. The only thing here that's beautiful is because it came from us, from our place of purity within us, and that's what they want to have, that, and they've stuck us in these meat suits basically that are controlled with the spinal thing, and that's their control panel. And so I never activated mine. I have no desire to. I won't do it. And but everyone has to do their own thing. But I will not throw in my crown. It stays on my head, and I'll cock it on to one side too if I have to. But I think it's important to realize that this is a time where the others, and just the mere fact that we're awakening and coming into this realization and remembering if we will, becoming members again of who we have been formerly, who we were in our true initial state.
Origin.
Uh,
Yeah.
as we remember that, then we start to emulate that and we become more like that. And that's where the frequencies and things come into play. Is when we have the same pattern as our original self, then we will more easily merge back into that complete form with all of our broken parts that want to go home restored, and we leave here. But when we leave, we do not have to pass judgment. I'm not to judge this place. This is their thing. We came to try to help, in my opinion. It was not successful. It can't be successful, and that was one of their big deals to keep us in the recycle program. Was to make us feel guilty and think that we could come back and make an improvement. Well, this time around, this sister has woken up and decided, I can't. This is theirs. It's not mine. We came to help. We brought some existence to this place, but there is no isness that's here except for the isness that is within the spark within each of us, and that's only not even our true wholeness unified, in a sense, because they have fractured us so many ways and so many times over the millennia to weaken us. It's all been very intentional, and we're tied to these different things through, I think, through frequencies, and so they do. That's a good point, Corey. Is that the attacks come because they want to wear us down and make us tired to where we give up. And so I think part of what Brandon and I were wanting to do here was really encourage people to find ways to inspire each other, encourage each other. Know you're not alone in this whole thing. Choosing to self-exit is you're just going to wind up getting stuck in the astral in whatever frame of mind that you're in, and to me that's a hell. So if you're just angry and mad and you want to leave, then you're going to get caught up in those types of scenarios, I think, and I just don't think that's a viable option. There's more and more of us waking up every day and realizing that this is not home, that our departure is imminent. And I'm not talking a Jesus rapture like the church teaches. I think this is similar. They had to have something to make up their thing about, but I think it's imperative, exactly, Crystal, we don't give up. We're here for that reason, and I think that it's the energy that we put off as we are remembering, that is released, and that's what's stimulating the recollection in the minds of those who are going to recall, so that they can recall. Because as we saturate the, call it cosmos, the astral, the in-between, I think that it's just going to open the door for more that who will remember. Now, we have to remember that we're not talking about everybody. I was looking at some things it was 2 days ago, and it said 85% of the people cannot see what's really going on. 10% of the people do see what's going on, and they seek to take advantage of it, capitalize off of it, basically. And the other 5% see what's going on and know what's going on, and they do similar to what we're doing here. They try to open or get it out there that it is going on. This is what's going on. So these would be, from ancient perspectives, those were called the prophets, or those were called the seers. They were called the ones who could see, the seers. And so that's a very small percentage, 5%. I
I'm a
would
seer.
maybe 10, but it's very, very, very few. So
I'm a
anyway,
seer. Yeah. Yeah. What are you trying to detach from?
oh, that's a great question. Detaching from responding according to their script to the various stimulus that they supply, because all of the stimulus we have cause and effect. And so all of the cause comes from the astral, be it positive or negative um, disparity or polarity in the astral. They present a situation, and then that's the cause. And then the effect is our response to that. And so they're pushing the buttons or pulling the strings, and we're responding, and we think that that's us doing it. And most of the time, it's a pre programmed, either a biochemical response that we don't have any conscious control about. Uh, and so that's where, even in some of the Matrix movies where Neo was talking about um, the the choice to not give the response to the way that he thought that the sage lady, whatever she was, I forgot what she was.
The oracle.
Yeah, the oracle of what she was. He didn't want to do what he thought she wanted him or expected him to do as part of that program. And I think
Right.
that's awakening to see that we're more than just stimulus response behavior. In psychology, it was all about we're all just creatures of behavior. And you look at society as a whole, man, look at all of the stimulus, from the red and yellow colors used to stimulate appetites of a variety, whether it's personal with your body appetites, or food, or activities and things like that, to color, to different words, to different body movements, to try to sell soap. Dove soap, for example, in the 70s, it was made in a curved form because it was considered to be sensual, and so they sold the heck out of it, and a lot of it had to do with the curvature of the soap. And so it comes back into marketing, and these guys are master marketers. And so when they throw all that stuff out there to us, uh, so detaching would be detaching from having to follow into, do I need to have the biggest, baddest, car on the block, or getting into the 9 to 5 rat race? Do I have to, at 18, go get married, have 3.5 children, or 2.5 children, or 1.1, however many they have? I don't know how they get the fractions in there, but do I have to do the same thing that everybody else does? I mean, my motto as a kid was, why be like everyone else when I can be different? And so I've always been different. And I'll tell you what, every time I've tried to be like everyone else, um, I screwed up big time. And those were some of the most horrible, horrible times in my entire life. It's not for me to be like everyone else. And so, but in a society, we're taught to be like everyone else, where you're an outcast. Or, in this Bible Belt area we live in, if you don't go to church and scream Jesus at the top of your lungs, and thump your Bible and assault people with it, then you're just not a good little Christian. And but if you get in there and you take that Bible and you discern, rightly dividing the truth from the error in the book, and they even said in Jeremiah, it says the book is filled with error, and how they have added stuff in there and changed things. But you can't tell a thumper that, and I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, but I grew up in that, and I had pretty good thumping abilities at one time. So it's just not, it's basically detaching from the things that we're told we have to do, the programming here. And it's detaching from things that people. I've told my kids, my love for them is not greater than my love for me leaving here.
Detach the mind.
And
The mind is the programmer. The mind is run by AI.
mhm.
Well, let me.
The,
No, I see. I don't agree with that. I think it can be, but I think once you realize you have the power and the authority to take it back, you can cut those strings off, and that's what I
that's
think.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. A person has to cut that off.
I
Oh,
would
the
say.
mind also,
Go ahead, Leslie.
the mind also is the blocker for higher perceptions where you need to be after coming out of the stillness. The mind will not let you go into the stillness where you need to reconnect with your group, because nobody gets out of here without their soul group. Because the soul group is 100% aware and conscious, and they use tones, and there's no language.
And I'm sure
That's
you're
not,
absolutely correct, but I'm gonna take a whole different perspective on that, because I believe that the soul, and I can back this up with numerous historical indications of such, that the soul is a construct of this, and it is a container for the spark. So my soul can stay here. I really don't care. But my spark, the real me, will not be staying here. It will leave. But the souls, I think, can have the choice to stay here and go down with the ship, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not wishing anything on anyone, because the whole idea repulses me. It would be my hope that the souls would choose to go home. Now, as far as being part of a soul group, in my mind, it akins it more to an assembly line, where you have lot numbers and generation numbers, and you have a group that were made kind of all at the same time. But a soul is not from where I'm calling the true homelands, the hyper cosmic universes of the true light, is not here, and it's not of souls. The soul was the thing that was constructed here, that had a type of spirit blown into it that animated it, and it is the suit through which, with the mind, because the mind is what I believe, and is consistent with what Angeliki teaches, but the mind is what deciphers, it interprets the things that go on in this realm. If we don't need that in the different higher realms, but it's also the tool they use to retain us here.
are you saying that the soul is more like referring to the dualistic persona of your human?
Yes, I'm going to add in something to that, because
Yeah,
when we look at the souls, they are made in two formats. They are made in a male format or a female format. You have two souls on your feet. That's the split. That's the duality. It goes right back to the option that Neo was given by Morpheus, the god of dreams, dream state, lucid dreaming, astral abilities. Those are still within the construct of this realm, dimension, matrix, whatever you want to call it, because he wants you to pick a side. And so when we talk about detaching, they're going to present you with option A or option B. Well, I'm going to see my way out of here. I'm not going to choose either of what you're presenting me, because I know that the blue team is the polarity of positive, and I know the red team is the polarity of negativity. But I don't want to play in duality. And so the soul
or
belongs here.
Origins is non-dualistic.
Correct.
right, but I think what I'm saying, and I think what Brandon's probably saying too, is for me, my spark has no origin. It has no beginning. It has always been and will always be. Now it can choose to be here and be finally drained of everything that it is, or I can remember who I am. And that's what the word aletheia, it means the unforgetting of, and coming out from the spell of the veiling that they've put on us in the second chapter or the first chapter of Genesis, when the God gives the humans a garment of flesh. The actual word used there in the Hebrew means a veil, a covering,
The higher,
blindness. And so they put
the,
us in these things so they can control us. And so the thing is that when we shed this veil of their control panel, basically, then we have several other layers that to progress through in kind of reversing everything. But I think that the soul is definitely, you have to have the soul in the meat suit, basically, whether it's a soul with a spark in it or it's a plane, plane soul, that it's tied to this plane. Uh, but it's two, like you said, two types of souls, and then there are two spirits. There's a spirit of this world, which is consistent with Eros and all of the error of Eros and the arrows of Eros that are piercing and trying to turn the word love into something evil and make something evil out of it that evolves into a methodology or means of retention within this duality. And so I do not believe for a moment that souls, A, not all souls escape, B, not all souls want to escape, B, the souls that want to stay here get to stay here. You don't go where you don't want to. You know, the whole slogan they had a few years ago, happy cows produce better milk, I think is very true. And so, being that we're shadowed cattle down here and we're here to feed them, then the happier they think they can keep us of us getting what we want. So they will twist that into, if you put too much emphasis on trying to focus on your lack, and that you want more of this means that you're in lack, so they're going to give you more lack. And they twist everything, so you don't really know the right from the left. And it's just all, I just think if we learn to rest in our own isness instead of our doing, I think A, it's a way more peaceful way of living, and B, that's what they're doing right now. I think is trying to upset everyone's inner peace, so that
it's,
they
it's,
get emotionally tied to this realm, and that means the astral, all of the astral, and that's where the souls are all recycling around. If you're going before a judgment panel and they're deciding your fate for you, then that's part of the program. And so I think our mission would be basically deuces to all that. We're not part of that program, therefore we're not subject to those rules and limitations. It's kind of like when you realize that the United States went bankrupt, in 1887 or something like that. And then they sold out to some other nations, and they reincorporated as the United States of America Incorporated, and they have their own foreign country here on domestic soil. And you realize now that we're under admiralty law which is a law of the sea, as opposed to the law of the land, which was the original, as I understand it, premise. But they slid it in so carefully that people don't notice. In fact, they love it. They love the laws and the rules, and to feel that they're good and they get to judge these, and that they might get to pass a sentence on somebody and condemn them and put them in jail because they jaywalked around the corner, or God forbid you have a tail light out on your car. You get to lose your entire car. You go to jail. Your car's impounded, suddenly it reverts back to the ownership of the state. So we're already living in this whole debauchery, as far as I'm concerned, of confusion, and it is the land of confusion.
You have to get to non-duality, and you have to be able to go into the stillness without thoughts. It's easy to do, and that if you desire to go back to origins, your true form is not dismantled or broken or anything. It's just asleep, less aware than normal. And you have to 0 point yourself in order to know thyself as non-dualistic. You have to let go of the matrix, really. Like, don't hold on to it.
Well, I'm curious as to who captured us and for what reason.
The archons.
How did they do that?
We, by magnetic fields and they render the being in an unconscious state so that they can wield our light and put us in captivity below the matrix. Well, it's kind of overlapping because the matrix, what we perceive, seems like it's solid, but it really isn't. Have you ever gone OBE and seen that it's just like an illusion, like a mirage?
Yeah, I do a lot of astral travel, and I don't know why I do know why they've captured us. They're using us for batteries. That's pretty evident to me. But I don't know how they captured us. And if it's magnetics, is the Earth part of that? Because the Earth is very magnetic. Well, the whole universe is very magnetic.
The simulation, yeah, it's the programming of the mind machinery behind the scenes, because Origin doesn't have a mind. We have intuitive knowing, empathically.
Okay, so if we know that, then how do we not know that we are captured?
They put us in the business. They memory wipe and put the true form in an amnesia and comatose state, and then they wield the consciousness back into the matrix through the mind machinery, and that sends it to the avatar with the 5 lower senses. They'll always deceive you, the 5 senses.
Okay, I understand that, but why are some of us awake and some of us aren't?
Because the amnesia doesn't last forever. Eventually, if you don't get hit too badly with the mind wiping machine, also keeps everyone in a low awareness state. See, they have to, because they want the energy, the eternal energy that we all possess. They can't touch it, So that's why they use magnetics, because they can't actually touch the source field that's around us and that we are made up of. That energy. Our light body is that energy. And I have a different take on the soul, but
Okay,
uh,
so we uh so we start waking up. Why don't they just put us back to sleep?
well, they do constantly. Everyone is micromanaged. There is no letting them in. This is their domain. We are in the pits of hell, if you want to call it that. It's a very bad place. It's a dwindling spiral into an unconsciousness, so that they can then, when they dwindle the light down, so that they can actually touch the true form, somehow they rip the soul, life force energy from the being, and then the being becomes an entity. They have to degrade the soul.
Right, I understand that. But why do some of us get out, and why is there this? It seems to me that there are a lot of people waking up now. What is preventing them from mind wiping us all again?
Well, they are. That's in the works. You have to reconnect with your soul group. Now, it's a different definition, Carrie. Soul is a part of each of the soul groups. The the ones that are all of the varying versions of the basic pair, and they're in groupings, each persona.
Yeah, I
And
understand that. I really do. But the thing of it is if they see us waking up and they are so good at what they do, and they are, I mean, I'm not taking that away from them. They could just flip a switch and
I see
remagnetize.
what you mean.
Or
They have to degrade. They have to degrade, and that takes time because we're powerful beings. It takes quite a bit to degrade the being so that they can harvest the life force energy out.
yeah,
Um,
can't harvest us anymore. So why are they not working on us to magnetically, or however they're doing it, get us back to get us to go back to sleep?
well, technically, everybody is. You're not fully aware and awake until you return to your form, your true form. I'm at the point where I've just got one last step to do before I rejoin my group. My group is here with me. They have been ever since I did my alignment. And ever since my alignment, I have, completed acclamation of origin. It's the way of origin, because we forget, like who we are. But I am like very more closer to origin than I am human. I'm losing that part as I go through. I almost left last year. I started to shimmer from the tones. They were all around my head, and they were toning really, really loud, so loud that it was worse than a rock and roll concert when you're there and your ears like ring, you know, they like it like almost, I mean, you could pass out from the tones. And that's what'll happen. I'll black out and I'll be in my true form. I'm just recollecting my consciousness back into my true form, becoming fully aware.
Well, this is what I've noticed. Okay. So I know that, I mean, I was heavily targeted. And when I say heavily targeted, I mean, they literally threw the book at me. And I understand why, because I'm a very powerful being. I'm a spirit releasement therapist, and I do remove a lot of negative energies from this planet. But ever since, and it took me a long time to stand in that power. Okay. So if there's even 10 of us on this planet that can stand in their power, these things that have taken us or are manipulating us really don't stand a chance. I mean, they are actually very terrified of us. And we can pretty much manipulate this reality to anything we want it to be. It's they have taken that knowledge away from us. I do know that. And what I remember this place as being an absolute paradise. And somehow, and I cannot remember how, it was taken over by entities that came in through portals. And then there was one that was incredibly sneaky, and they call it black goo, but it did not come in as black goo. It came in as something else and changed into black goo. That is the entity that we are fighting. It's a silent manipulator. It doesn't attack like with swords. It manipulates the mind, you know. And if you can get away from that particular entity, then you can understand that you literally create your own reality. And I'm just beginning to understand what that means for me. You know,
Huh.
yeah, that's what I've learned so far. And targeted, I'm not targeted anymore, because one day I just said, okay, I'm done. And I never, ever attacked back. And I started attacking back. And the minute I did that, they backed off, because they're bullies. They're predators. Predators do not like to get injured. It
Well,
means
they're not afraid of us.
oh, yes, they are, darling. Yeah, they're terrified.
They are unperceived by most, but they're always working on us.
They're terrified of us because we have an incredible creative power. Incredible creative power. And they know that if we awaken to that fully, they're done. They are done. There is something else here that is controlling our minds. And once you break free of that, then you can start creating your, because I'm doing it and I've done it. I used to do it before I was even targeted. And now I'm doing it not being targeted, because they were using my ability to manifest and to create. And that's who I am. I came in to manifest and create. But what they did was they actually used spells and curses and whatever else you want to call it. Those are just words. And took that ability from me and gave it to themselves. And then I woke up to that and I took it back. I took my power back. And once I took my power back, I'm telling you right now, they do not bother me anymore. They do not. Because they know that if they do, they're going to get hurt. And predators don't like to get hurt. That's just.
How can you fight something that is non-physical?
You fight it by being non-physical yourself. Yeah.
Well, then you have to retrieve your consciousness out of the machinery
Yep.
to
You do.
stop them from being able to control you through the mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what you, and don't get me wrong. I am not anywhere as well, I'm close to being in my absolute power, but I am getting closer daily. And I'm telling you right now, they do not want anything to do with me. Nothing to do with me.
Can I ask you a question? Do you hear varied tones at all?
I used to. They used to when I was being heavily targeted. They would for 24 hours straight. It was 2 days straight. They just kept repeating, "Shut up, V2K, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up." And I was just like, okay, you people, or whatever the fuck you are, you got to be getting in somehow, and it's got to be through a frequency. So what I did was I was like, there's a frequency that they're running this program on. And so what I did was I just laid down in bed and I literally reversed my chakras. And the minute the last one went into place, the red one up at the top of my head, I heard, "No, don't." And that was it. And then I heard them say, "V2K, no, don't." And then there was never any V2K. And if they did do V2K or attempt it, because they would straighten my chakras back out, because they want you playing their frequency. That's what they want. And that's why they teach everybody, this is how the chakras go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, And I was like, that's bullshit to me. That's just a frequency collar. And so I switched it around. And whenever they tried to get into V2K with me again, I just simply started switching my chakras around wherever I wanted them. I just started playing my own music. This is my instrument, not theirs.
I don't know what you mean by V2K.
Voice to skull.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun with that. And ever since I've switched my chakras, now they don't bother with the shot. And you can even block electromagnetic frequencies by switching your chakras. You can do a lot of things by switching your chakras around. And the nice thing about it is that you can switch them wherever you want to. Like you can put the green one up on your third eye, or green one down on the root chakra. You're just not playing their tune anymore. No longer.
I've never heard such a thing.
I know, it's crazy. But girlfriend, let me tell you what, they were driving me nuts. And I was like, you've got to be getting in on a frequency. And the only frequency that I could think of that I would be constantly running for them to tap into would be my chakras. And I was like, that's got to be it. And so I switched them around, and the game totally changed.
Because I just been intuitively led through this, and when it was time for me to stop my discovery period, I was like, well, what about the chakras, and the other things of the, don't I need to know some of that stuff? No, I don't. I was ready to go. And I don't know if it's because I skipped the mind programming upon entering or not, because I didn't get the belief one.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well, I
yeah,
definitely.
because, they can make you, all of the ones who don't want to know the truth, the sheeples, you might say.
Yeah, they just don't know how to play their own instrument. That's what the thing is. They just don't know how to
Okay.
play. It's a frequency collar. It's sort of like an invisible fence for dogs, and that's how I perceive it anyway. And they teach you, this is where it goes, and don't change them around, and you can't get rid of them, and da 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 da. Well, after you're driven nuts for about 10 years, you think, man, screw those chakras. How bad do I really need them?
I've even heard where somebody was talking about removing theirs.
Yeah, I've heard
And
of
I
that
don't
too.
know what they're talking about, but
I've heard that people do remove them, but I choose not to remove mine because I think, and I may be totally wrong on this, but I think that as I switch them around, it really messes up their frequency. Yeah. So I keep mine just to play with them now.
is that like where you visualize things and then you like do it that way?
Yeah, you know how the energy. Are you familiar with the chakras?
Yeah, I did touch base a little bit, but then
You're breaking up really bad.
decided to reject it. I rejected it. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear you because you broke up really bad. I
I have
go ahead.
rejected it.
Rejected.
It because rejected it because my soul group said that I was ready.
Oh, okay.
But you have to perceive it differently.
Well, and you may be from a different group than me. You know what I mean? Like you may be here on a totally different mission than I am.
Yeah,
So.
they actually just are dead set on just extracting me from the system totally, because the demiurge is on my ass for years now, and I've been at war with them.
Yeah, 25 years I've been being stalked, and I understand why. I understand why I was being stalked, but I'm not being stalked anymore. So,
Well, that's good you got them off of you, but they
yeah,
still are stealth because the avatars age, they get sick. They run the show behind the scenes unperceived. Sometimes I can feel them and sometimes I can't. Like I'll feel them touch my toe and like run up my leg partially, but then they like disappear. They're just phasing out of the visible light spectrum and then phasing back in. And then I can feel their little footsteps. But I can't see them always unless I do my, third eye and I want to see them.
right. I just, and like I said, we may all have different ideas because we are all on different missions. I know I came here for a specific reason, and I've died like 3 times. I feel like I'm in the game. What the heck is it? Or that movie? What's it called? Replay or something like that, where he just keeps dying and coming back.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel until I get it right. There's something I have to do here, and I told him the last time I can remember being in the underworld, and I was sitting on a bench, and I was like, "Excuse my French, there is no fucking way I'm going back down there. There is no way. You can't make me. You can't force me. I am not going back down there to serve a what did I call a willfully ignorant, ungrateful species."
Right. That's what I was telling my soul group. I go, you guys, it's not my turn next time.
Yeah.
Somebody else go.
So somebody else stepped in. Another altar of mine, I think, stepped in. And I could explain that another time, but that's all I've got to say. So I just had to get that
That's
out.
cool.
And in case anybody's being targeted, you know how to. Well, I just told you how I dealt with it, and I don't know if that will help anybody
Move
else.
your chakras around, right?
Yep, move the chakras. Well, that's what I did, and it worked for me. So
Once I tried. Oh,
thank you for letting me speak.
It's a free speech. I tried the visualizing, you put yourself in a crystal castle or something or a pyramid or something like that, as trying to do the protection thing. It's a little bit of misinformation that I got a hold of years back. It never worked. I tried real hard, but it didn't work.
Something I think it's
Go ahead.
really neat that we have so many different people from different backgrounds. And Dawn, you really hit it, I think, is that each of us is going to have a little different mission, if that's what we feel we're here for. Of course, I think we have different origins, and that will play out also in our different perspectives, our different things that we intuitively seem to remember or don't remember. And I've really enjoyed listening to you guys discuss what your experiences have been. It's intriguing to me. It's not something I relish participating in, but I've done more spiritual work, I guess, in casting out entities and demons or whatever of that nature, and so just a little different perspective on things, I think, kind of helps round things out, and people can pick and choose from everyone's own experience the things that resonate with them. So I really wanted to thank both of you for the discourse that you were able to share with all of us here, and I hope everyone else got as much out of it as I did. I really enjoyed it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie.
Yeah, I find it interesting. It's like some of us are meant to do astral travel, and some of us are meant to not. It's almost like our origin point was the point of entry in which we came into the construct, and from those groupings of people, we'll say that they very well probably did have a mission. We could have 6 over here on the right side or whatever, and 6 over here on the bottom left side. And it's because I used to want to be an astral warrior and go in and fight battles, but it's like if it's not being presented or I'm not being guided to it, then that's just, for me, that's just not on my trajectory out of here. But there are I think that's where we kind of get lost in this, as far as coming together and talking about things, is that we're not realizing that on every level of this place, at every angle, I feel like a battle is being taken place or is happening. And so in a battle, you have different groupings of people. You know, you'll have your Navy, your Army, you'll have your Marines, your whatever, your pilots. You'll have all these different angles that everything's attacking this place in. And what these truthing communities that are hijacked or putting out disinformation try and do is tell you it's like one size shoe fits all, but it's not the case. So I really appreciate all of you guys being here and sharing your experience, because I think it's all valid. It's just some of us aren't meant to do it that way, or some of us are meant to do it this way. So I think it's it's like the Army calling the Navy and saying, hey, we're attacking the same thing, why don't we work together, so to speak.
Yeah. I would say, well, I guess I'll just talk for myself. The way I see it and have experienced it is my origin is my soul group is me still, just another version of myself. So it's all of my others. And all of them are connected. That's what the soul is to me, is all are one being. So I am not one being. I'm not a singularity. I am multiple, like in the thousands of versions of myself. It's still myself. So next time, I'm going to send one of my other selves, because this one needs a vacation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well,
All right,
I think
guys,
that's,
go ahead,
well,
Carrie.
I'm just real briefly. I think, Leslie, you said you had been through here, what, like 10 times or something like that. And I don't think that I've been through that many times. So you're going to have a whole other realm of experiences and things that, if you're able to tap into those memories, that you can pull from or draw from, or experiences and stuff that I'm not. I think my mission is probably very different. I would love to be super ninja in the spirit realm. I just wish it would activate in this realm sometimes. But anyway, I just think that would be cool and fun. But now I'm just like, I don't want to spend my energy there on that. And if what they're doing to me bothers me that much that I want to, destroy things. Now, I'm not saying don't stand up, because I'm a big advocate of standing firm, drawing your line in the sand, and don't cross it, because I will defend it. But as far as just going out and attacking things, to me that opens us up, because we're actually in the same energy that they are when they attack us. And if we have that thing in common, then ultimately, in my line of thinking, that gives them access to us, because then we've just established commonality with them. And in almost every thing that I've read, looked at, studied, or have felt intuitively, is that when you establish that common ground, like with some things, it's looking them in the eye is all they need in order to gain access. In some things, it's different things coming into agreement, whether it's just clicking the right box on there, or if it's turning around and looking at a thing, or desiring to have a thing, is coming into agreement to do whatever it takes for them in order to attain the dangled carrot, if you will. And, so I've got a little different perspective. It doesn't make any of them any less valid. Like I said, I love variety. And I think what we've seen here this evening has been some different perspectives on things. And and I think again, we may come from different places. We may have different roles to play here, missions to play here, or something. And um, I'm just grateful for all of you guys. Honestly, is what I wanted to say. I'm done, Brandon.
Can
Go
we
right ahead, guys. Go ahead.
can we sub each other, like finding all of you?
I just wanted to be clear too that I have never been violent. I do not draw blood. I do not kill things. Okay. I use my energy to transform or banish, one or the other. So I just wanted to make that. I wanted to make that clear. And I don't choose the missions; they're chosen for me because I've been told that if I knew it before I went in, that I would be thwarted. So they don't tell me until I go into trance, and then they tell me where I'm going and what I'm doing. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
How do they tell you?
I'll be like, I'm gonna go to just the Vatican, and I'm gonna remove the demon, and I'll go into trance. I have a ground wire. I have somebody that takes me down and puts me in trance, and they'll be like, no, you're not going to the Vatican. You're gonna go over here. All right. And they say that you can't plan things like that because then you've got it in your mind, and they're going to read your mind, and they're going to meet you there. So
They use language.
I'm sorry, say again.
They use language. Do you hear a voice, or is it a thought, or how is it presented?
Yep, thought, voice. Yep, guides.
Oh, that's the archons. Okay. Yeah.
No, they aren't archons. They are definitely not archons. I know the frequency of archons. Being stalked for 25 years, I kind of got the archon frequency down pretty good. But so they are not archons. I know a lot of people have that. And like I said, my mission is just different.
I use empathy as a detector. What doesn't feel like my own essence because of having multiple selves. Like I said, I'm gonna send one of my other selves next time. 2 others have returned, and it was my soulmate, which is my counter, my exact personality, but only male. He's the one that is helping me. I connect the best with him. And he helps me fight the so-called demons, the negative thought forms, and all their biobots. Those things are nasty. They are the disease of this place. Yeah, I've had many encounters, and they don't want me getting out because of being a demon slayer and all.
Right, and you don't, and like I said, I do not draw blood. I am not a violent person, and I don't even treat them with violence. I treat them how they want to be treated, and if they're going to go one way or another, we can make it easy or we can make it hard, but they are going to leave, and they do. And I know that may sound egotistical, and that may sound, I don't know, astonishing or whatever, but that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to give humanity a fighting chance. That's what I'm here for. without violence. Like I said, I get no pleasure out of killing anything.
Well, these things aren't really alive. What I'm talking about, they're not alive. They possess no soul. They want our portion of it, the life force energy that's eternal. They want that so they can use it, because otherwise they'll just expire.
Yeah, if I can jump in, they're like computer programs. And so one thing I was gonna say, kind of jumping back a little bit in the conversation, but about detachment and what is it to detach from? It would just simply be desire. Like on the overall, because that really that works with your emotional body needing to be in check with just everything you do. So in relationships with people that you love and situations that could be turned against you in that regard, when you're on the other side, and say being judged or spoken to or whatever, when you talk about frequencies, it would be like music. There could be music playing, and that they would say, oh, well, that's just the angels in heaven, or I mean, who knows what they could possibly say, but the music is what makes any movie go. So like if there's music going on when you're immediately removed from your body, that's highly suspect. And so but that's a little bit of a tangent, but just ultimately your desire about things, and that's what I've been working on lately, and just to try to do things. I mean, it's hard too, because, and then that goes a little bit to with what Carrie was saying about the soul coming from this place. And there's actually, I guess depending on how you look at it, there's like 7 different aspects to the body, ranging throughout the spectrum, and the soul is one of them. But what I've always understood was that your soul is where you get the love and hate aspect of yourself. Why do you love chocolate chip ice cream but you hate strawberry? I mean, you don't know, but and that's a random example, but there's better ones. But just in general, things that you love and hate would come from your soul, which to me says that that's probably why it's one of the most important things to have under control in self mastery, because your emotions are what, at least what I've had a revelation of, is that my emotions are, if I'm back here, if I've been tricked or in any other way, it would be emotionally. Oh, well, your family is all still here. You can't leave your family behind, or just who knows. I just find myself very sentimental about things, and partially some of that was maybe my upbringing, but um, just acting without desire, or trying to limit the amount of desire in what you do, because ultimately your desire is your fear, and so
It's human persona is your fake persona.
right,
It's all
ego.
yeah, the setup for in here, because they can't have you acting non-dualistically. It just wouldn't go with it.
Right. And my friend was asking me the other day about how I was doing, and I think it may have been you, Brandon, the other day, and I was just like, I'm getting more used to, like, well, or not even more used to, just thinking of myself without like my name. I'm not necessarily, because he mentioned my name, and I was like, that's weird. Every time I hear my name, I mostly just think I'm in trouble. I just am used to hearing my mom call my name, or someone at school, or a boss, or somebody, and I'm like, God, what did I do? And so I'm comfortable with not being my name, or having a different body. Like if I look down, like went and looked in a mirror, like, oh shit, I'm a different dude. Or a girl even, whatever. Um, I could handle those things. Because that's really kind of the mindset that you're going to need to be able to just initially accept is that no, none of that's real. And can you flow with that and not get all weirded out and try to force the no, it's not like that. It's because I think it's like this. And I think that's part of it too, is just kind of going with the flow.
I've seen my true form. My soul group had taken me there and outside of the construct in the dark abyss where I saw the archons. But I saw everybody when I went to the red spectrum and I was looking around from outside of my true form. And it's a very busy, busy place with all these dark ones all running around, uh, feeding off of the energy that emits from my true form all around. It's quite a nightmarish scene. And then, of course, from the chest all the way to my head, the source field is being drained. That life force energy is being drained. And I know why they do that. It's to render us less powerful so that they can harvest the energy even more, so that they can discard the body form. They'd be running around this little like zombie creature. It's actually not funny, but they're just small, very small.
All right, guys, we've got about 8 minutes left before this one ends. So if you guys have any final comments or things you want to throw out there to help anybody listening or that's going to view this later, feel free to do so.
I just think that everything's going to kind of fall into place. And and you guys, I walked away earlier and you guys were talking about what if they keep us trapped and they wipe our memory again? Well, then we won't remember and it won't matter. We'll be having this same conversation at another time and date and being like, all right, this is how we get out. Who knows how many times we've had this? I mean, I don't know. I think it'll all work out ultimately. Like less fear, more it'll be fine. You know, because think about how many people couldn't even have this conversation or sit through this. You know, and that doesn't make it bad or wrong. I mean, I don't know, this place sucks, but if for some reason that we chose to be here and there's some sort of development portion to this that we can learn from or grow from or go, oh shit, we're in a big puzzle and we need to figure it out, or who knows what, something like that. If they haven't yet, then maybe this is what they want. They like eating steaks and going to work and having a family and doing that, playing that game. Just like Jumanji. It's like, why'd that kid go back in on the second one? Like, you know, whatever. He just liked it. But I think
Well, I have memories of my other selves as well. It's not just my own. Like I had mistaken that I was my mom's boyfriend in another life, but it wasn't me, this version. It was my soulmate's lifetime that I glimpsed, remembered about that. All I would say on the ending is that's what I went to 0 point. I let go of everything that I've known while I've been here for this time in order to get back a higher perception so that I wouldn't have to guess, and I certainly wouldn't want to think, to come up with like do reasoning of the mind, because that'll just get you nowhere. So I had to remove everything and